Hello. New stuff time. It's been a long time since I've focused on mechanics surrounding the junk rigs. They had fallen behind quite a bit after all the updates and feedback from early in the demo that led to some pretty substantial changes to the lateen system. So, a big progress blocker has been updating the junk system or the batten sales controls to be comparable to those of the lateens. So it's finally time to showcase at least a little bit of how this is coming along. It's, I would say, getting fairly close to a fully playable state. I need to do a bit more work on the reefing controls, but it's back to a point where the ships are quite controllable and can be sailed in a wider range of conditions, much like the lateens, including laterally and in reverse. And I've tightened up the controls overall. In addition to that, I've done a bit of a detail pass on the Caelean Junk, as it's the furthest along. That includes replacing it with more culture-specific lighting, improving the lighting overall, as well as performance through things like zoning to help unload some unused assets when they're not visible. I've added further detail to the interiors to make them a little bit more visually interesting, as well as, and this will actually affect all ships, is a bit of an overhaul to zoned audio to further distinguish interior spaces from exterior spaces. So there's a little bit more of a, hopefully, immersive feel there. So I do intend for this ship to be present in the early access release in a saleable and ownable state, and it is getting pretty close to that. The rigging has been changed to the new model, which should hopefully look a little bit better and be a little bit more performant as well. Things like flags have been moved to the new template model, so you'll be able to change the template to whatever you would like it to be. Control over battened sails is now much more controllable. Moving the base ropes functions very similarly to how it does for lateen sails. You can control the length via the Mousewheel as with the lateen, but for the battened sails, it has been moved to a two-step process, as we have a rope running to a singular point, which then splits for each of the battens. Now, controlling the length will initially adjust the length of this rope, as it does for the lateens. But once it has reached its minimum length, the length adjustment instead moves to the tension of the individual lines leading to each batten. This allows you to effectively tighten the sail overall, making the battened structure much more rigid if you desire this, which is especially useful if you intend to move laterally or in reverse, or you can simply allow it to slack off and be controlled more directly by the wind, which can be useful if you're in a running position, or if it suits your sailing needs. But previously, the control over the batten sails was a bit finicky, So now it is much more controllable. Given their similar size, the Junk is going to be easily compared with the Zebek. In terms of gameplay, they will function quite similarly, but the Junk is going to be a little bit more tolerant of heavy seas. It has higher freeboard, and it can carry somewhat larger loads as well, although it is expected to be a bit slower as well. Much like historic junk ships, the interior is split up into multiple compartments, though not nearly as many as the real ships would have been, mainly because I thought that would be a little bit annoying to traverse for loading and whatnot, since you'd have to be climbing a million ladders. As far as other changes go, I do intend to push out a update to the demo later today. That's going to include the new player movement system that was described in the last video. That's not going to feel too different, hopefully, and I anticipate that there may be some issues that I haven't caught quite yet. So, of course, please let me know on the Discord or send me an email if you encounter any major issues. Essentially, if you haven't seen the last video, what this does is it decouples the player's movement from other moving objects, such as the ships, and instead transfers player movement to a copy of the ship that isn't as effective by physics, which in shorthand terms should mean that player positioning and movement aboard ships should be more stable now. I've also significantly reduced the head bob, as a number of people were commenting that it was making them a little seasick. So it's a little less dramatic now. I may eventually put in things like a toggle for that, but for now I've just reduced it by about 60%. Anyway, that's it for this video. Another shorter one, but with a little bit more visual stuff to show than last time. And I plan to have more content out relatively soon, but in the meantime, thank you for watching.